What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Observant Lineman. It looks like the hammer has dropped. As everybody knows, yesterday the huge melee that broke out during the Pittsburgh Steelers Cleveland Browns game, in which Myles Garrett decided he was going to use Mason Rudolph's helmet as a weapon and hit him over the head with the helmet, which just caused a complete outbreak of fighting on the field. Now the NFL has the NFL acted pretty swiftly, and now we are seeing the results of that altercation play out. And breaking news for that, Myles Garrett, and I think nobody is surprised by this. I certainly am not surprised by this. I thought that this was the appropriate action to take, but Myles Garrett has been suspended indefinitely from the NFL, so he is being treated in the same manner that players who have had multiple substance abuse suspensions, multiple performance-enhancing drug suspensions, domestic violence disputes, or things of that nature. He is being treated with the same scrutiny as those, and the NFL has given him an indefinite ban. He would not be eligible to play the rest of this season or any other season until the NFL allows and approves for him to return to play. And I'm sure there's going to be some stipulations with that, but let's go to this article. It says here, Browns Myles Garrett suspended indefinitely. Steelers Maurkice Pouncey gets 3-game ban. I think, of course, they were going to give Pouncey something. I mean, Pouncey was rightfully protecting his quarterback, as every offensive lineman will do in that situation. And because of the severity of the attack itself, Pouncey himself jumped on Myles Garrett, throwing punches, throwing kicks, and I feel him, because that's exactly how I would have played it if I were in his shoes. So let's go ahead and look at the article. Myles Garrett will not play again this season and maybe longer. The NFL announced Friday that Cleveland Browns defensive end has been suspended for the rest of the season, including the playoffs should the Browns make it. And we'll have to meet with the commissioner's office before being reinstated in 2020. Garrett ripped the helmet of Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph and clubbed him in the head with it in the final seconds of Thursday night's game. I mean, just how ridiculous is that for me to even have to read right now? You know what I mean? Like, it sounded bizarre to even read that. That's how out of the realm of reality this entire situation played out last night. I mean, look, this is a violent sport. Football is a violent sport by nature. You are taught to control aggression and to focus it on an individual, to focus it on another group of people, but stay within the confines of sportsmanship. Stay within the confines of avoiding injury. And there's a very thin line there sometimes when things get testy. I understand that. So I can understand Myles Garrett to some extent ripping off Mason Rudolph's helmet. I can understand that, because there are points and there are times where the game can get inside of your head. And when you're in a situation, and who knows what he was dealing with the entire, maybe he was getting, maybe he got dominated on a block of a play or two before that, and he was pissed. Maybe he got talked down to or something like that. Who knows? I'm not going to sit here and speculate. It's irrelevant. But I can understand where that kind of control can be where it can be a very hard thing to check if you're not in the right state of mind. And for that, I can have some small smidgen of empathy for Myles Garrett, but to actually swing the helmet is a decision. To swing the helmet is a decision, and now you are putting another player's life at risk. This is an NFL helmet, and that NFL helmet is far harder and far thicker than the human skull. This helmet can kill a human being. It says it on the inside of it, on the warning labels on the inside of the helmet, that this helmet can cause severe injury or death. And for anyone to think that there is any single justification for what he did, you're an idiot. You're either not serious and you're trolling, or you're just stupid. It's a 10-pound piece of hard material that if you smack this over somebody's head in that wide looping motion that he did, and you land with any part of this crown, any part of this top directly on someone else's skull, what's the difference between that and coming down, running down the A gap with the linebacker and the running back and meeting head on for a collision? What's the difference? There is no difference. The simple fact of the matter that he decided to swing the helmet means he has completely abused the privilege of being out on that field. He has abused the privilege that he fought his entire life for. He abused it because of a moment of weakness, and you got to pay with consequences. There has to be consequences, and the NFL's taking the right one. Garrett suspension which is at least 6 games, is the longest in NFL history for a single on-field incident. In a statement, the NFL said that Garrett violated unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct rules, as well as fighting, removing the helmet of an opponent, and using the helmet as a weapon. The NFL also suspended Browns defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi 1 game for pushing Rudolph in the back to the ground shortly after Garrett had slugged the quarterback in the head with the helmet. Pittsburgh center Marquise Pouncey, who jumped into Garrett, kicking and punching him after Rudolph had been struck, was suspended 3 games. All 3 players who were ejected from the game were suspended without pay and will be fined. In addition, the NFL has fined the Browns and Steelers organizations $250,000 each for the incident. All 3 can appeal the suspensions within 3 business days. The NFL left the door open for additional discipline of other players, including those who left the bench and ran onto the field. And this is a quote from Garrett himself. He says, "What I did was foolish and I shouldn't allow myself to slip like that." You think? Garrett said afterwards, "That's out of character, but a situation like that where it's an emotional game and I allowed myself to fall into those emotions with what happened." Browns owners Jimmy and Dee Haslam issued a statement shortly after the NFL's ruling. "We are extremely disappointed in what transpired last evening at the end of our game. There is no place for that in football, and that is not reflective of the core values we strive for as an organization. We sincerely apologize to Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Myles Garrett has been a good teammate and member of our organization and community for the last 3 years, but his actions last night were completely unacceptable. We understand the consequences from the league for his actions." Before Garrett, the longest ban in NFL history came in 2006 when then Tennessee Titans defensive lineman Albert Haynesworth, who I have played against like 5 or 6 times. Albert Haynesworth is a massive man and he's bipolar. That is what makes him that much more dangerous. Albert Haynesworth was suspended 5 games for ripping the helmet off of Dallas Cowboys center Andre Garrett and kicking and stomping his face. Thursday's melee started when Rudolph dumped a pass to running back Trey Edmonds late in the 4th quarter, then was dragged to the ground by Garrett. Rudolph appeared to try to dislodge Garrett's helmet when the defensive end was on top of him after a late hit. Rudolph also kicked him in the groin area from the ground. Once they stood up, Garrett ripped off Rudolph's helmet and took a swing with it, connecting on the top of Rudolph's helmetless head. I mean, can you imagine if that helmet just came at a slightly different angle? We may very well be talking about the first ever live on-field murder of a football player because that helmet just if it just moved a little bit, moved on a different angle, just slightly, we could very well be sitting here talking about that. And how tragic would that be, right? So for people who out there who I've seen who are trying to defend this guy, I mean, look, I like Myles Garrett. He's a good player, but that shit is undefendable. I mean, I'm sorry. I will not try to defend something that is not defendable. That is undefendable what he did as a player. We all know that. There is a difference between a fight on the field and when you swing the helmet, that's a different level. That is a line. That is something completely counter to what we are taught as players and what's bred into us as men. Like, come on. So Rudolph has not been suspended or fined in the incident, but the NFL's announcement left the door open for additional punishments for players who left the bench and entered the fight area under the league's standard accountability process. Once off the ground with his helmet in Garrett's hands, Rudolph advanced towards Garrett because he felt he had a bone to pick with him after what he did. That's when Garrett swung the helmet at Rudolph. I know it's Bush League and a total coward move on his part, Rudolph said. I get it. It's okay, though. I'm not going to back down from any bully out there. Multiple Steelers and Browns players left the bench during the fight and ran to the end zone. After the game, Pouncey wasn't worried about his own punishment from the fight. He told reporters he went into protection mode after watching Garrett strike his quarterback with his helmet. At that point, it's bigger than football. Exactly. Pouncey said, it's protection. He could have killed him. What if he'd hit him in the temple? And that's a perfectly legitimate and reasonable fear for a player to have when you're on the field and you don't have your helmet on and somebody takes a swing at you. I mean, what if he hit him on a slightly different angle? It's a completely different story. Pouncey, along with Steelers defensive lineman Cam Hayward, called for Garrett suspension after the game. Hands down, Hayward said. And I told those other players on the other side, y'all better handle that. I don't care who is out there. We play this game, we all work for it. But for someone to use a helmet as a weapon is uncalled for. Thursday night, Cleveland coach Freddie Kitchens called Garrett's actions embarrassing. Pittsburgh coach Mike Tomlin had no comment on the incident, only to say you guys saw what happened. Just an amazing situation. Absolutely bizarre, absolutely uncalled for in the NFL. I mean, there's no place for that in any sport. And I think that if you just look at it from just a perspective of reason and logic, it's easy to see that what the NFL has done with this indefinite ban on Myles Garrett is fully warranted. Now, do I think that's going to end his career? No, I don't think it's going to end his career. But he is going to probably pay for it with part of next season as well. He'll probably miss the first 4 to first 6 games of next year. They're going to make it a 12-game ban, I would think. So 6 games this season, 6 games next season. And from there, they're probably going to require that he go through some kind of anger management training or something of that nature to try and address what underlying issue there may have been in this. We don't know that there is. We don't know if it was just, a slip up on his part. But anytime you come to that point on national television in front of, tens of thousands of people, and you just decide you're going to take a swing like that, you're going to take a risk like that with your career and with someone else's life, then, there has to be something else that is going on. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the Observant Lineman, Uche Nwaneri. Also, hit the bell notifications so that you can be notified each time I drop a new video. That's the breaking news out of the NFL. Myles Garrett's indefinite suspension from the NFL starts today. Appreciate you guys for checking out my video. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.